Welcome to the Kennedy Events Podcast, where we feature top marketing, communications, and future of work leaders and share their biggest takeaways and insights. We love these conversations and hope you will too. Let's get started.
Welcome. This episode is brought to you by Kennedy Events. We create stress-free conferences and events, providing expert management and design for all your corporate event needs, from in-person to hybrid and virtual. You can learn more about us at kennedyevents.com. Today, I am talking with Elaine Honig. Elaine is an entrepreneur who thrives on creating brands, building businesses, and helping others, be they animals or humans. A native Oklahoman with an economics degree from Tufts University, Elaine started out in the real estate business, then spent 21 years in the wine business, helping grow a small family project into a nationally recognized wine brand. Elaine is the founder and CEO of Studio 440, a national leader in nonprofit strategic planning and signature event fundraising, known for their award-winning event concepts, Wine, Women, and Shoes, and Farm to Tableau, and a customized event solution, Eventful, which have proven successful for more than 300 nonprofits throughout the U.S. Wow, Elaine, welcome. I'm so glad we're talking.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
So tell me how your vision for these programs started. Which one came first, and where did the idea come from?
So I was in the wine business, and I sat on the board of a local nonprofit here in Napa, which needed a fundraiser. As you know, we're always looking, how do we raise money? What do we do? So I thought up a women's wine event that I called Wine, Women, and Shoes, based on an old country western song by Tammy Wynette called Wine, Women, and Song. And we did a play on words where we did wine and shoe pairing as opposed to wine and food pairing. And that was a kind of a kitschy, fun hit in the Napa Valley. And some friends of mine attended it who were part-time here in Napa and part-time in other cities, and said, that was so much fun. Can we do it in our city? So I'm like, sure, let's do it in your town. So the next thing I knew, one event became 3 events, became 10 events. And at 10 events, I was volunteering all this time and it kind of helping 10 different people throw 10 different Wine, Women, and Shoes events around the country, really started just absorbing all my time. And so at that point, I realized it was time to leave the wine business and take this full time, turn it into a business, and see if I could grow it into something. So
I have a real thing on my hands here.
I was like, okay. I looked up and thought, okay, we're raising lots of money for these folks. It takes a ton of time. I wonder if they'd pay me and that I could leave the winery and go do this full time. And they all said yes. So I had a business and was off and running.
Wow. So then what were the early days of that company like? Like, what were your first hires? What were your first major challenges to overcome?
Oh, well, I built a brand. So, first hires are, good graphic designer who can help me with my branding. First people, accounting, those are, people who could help me with that and set that up. And then it's funny, I'm a creative and make things. I think one of the strengths I have is that I don't want to say fearless, but I leap before I look oftentimes in life. And when it comes to entrepreneurs and setting up businesses, that can be helpful because I just sort of okay, let's go forward. And then I figure it out as I go. And so as I was figuring this out as I go, I recognize patterns, okay, I'm seeing patterns from event to event to event. Like if we can do sponsorships this way in one city, we can do it that way in another. So my next hires were people who could help me take these systems and best practices that I was seeing and write them down and put them together. Because I found I was having the same conversations over and over again, which then were subject to my memory. Did I remember to tell them that or not? And then I kept thinking, man, it'd be so much easier if I wrote this down and I just sent them a Word document with this is how you set up your auction. Here's the best ways that I've seen it done. And so those were some really important hires because, again, I like to move fast, think of things, think of solutions. I am not the person who wants to sit down and write it all out. So
You don't love like typing up the checklist.
No, I hate that stuff. I needed someone to sit with me and allow me to do brain dumps, and then to organize all that, all the stuff that comes out in the brain dump, and put it into these really nice formatted systems. And that was the beginning of our how-to. And that how-to guide was, has just been critical to our success.
So then what is the offering and the opportunity for your clients look like now? And how is that different than when you were doing 10 events and not even getting paid for it?
Today, so what it looks like today is we hand them a playbook. So if you're, and the playbook is online. And so everything is broken down, how do you go about sponsorships? And now at this point, we've done, we've been in business 15 years and we do about 60 events a year. So that's however many events we've done over this time. So we've done so many that we have, 60 sponsorship decks a year, and we can go through and glean our favorite ones, put those on the how-to. And now people get, you get everything. Basically, you get this turnkey template, and so that you're not reinventing the wheel. So that is a big part of it, is this online how-to guide where everything lives. Then, you need a thank you letter to an insurance company. You need anything. You need a shoe guy recruitment ad. All of this it all exists, and it's all findable. And then of course, because there's a lot of it, they're consultants who work with each team. That we call them project managers. And so we have 4 project managers who work with the various nonprofits that we work with. And they sit in on their committee calls. They sit in on, their strategic calls. They might even make a handful of sponsorship calls with them so that they can show them how the conversation's done, how the language is done. They're basically their coaches and their guides. And they take them through from start to finish. And they show up at the event day of. They help with setup. If the auctioneer is not doing well, which is kind of not that uncommon, you have an auctioneer who hops up on stage and maybe they're the wrong energy for the crowd, or something's kind of not going great. My team will step up and help. My team also has all been trained in auctioneering. So if you're a little charity in, let's say, Wenatchee, Washington, and you don't want to hire an auctioneer because it's not in your budget, or my team will step in and be your auctioneer. We have full-time graphic designers who will do all of the collateral and materials, from invitations to ads to banners to you name it. There's a whole, social media plans. So it's kind of everything you need to execute this event. And another, budgets. What do you look at? Let's see, if we get 60 budgets a year, we can say, okay, with a degree of confidence, this is about what you can expect it to run per head to put this event on. And then they can come at it with some degree of reasonable estimation. And so all that comes in with our package. So that's all our intellectual property and business coaching. And then they get a license, an exclusive license in their city. Because you don't want to have 2 wine, women, and shoes or 2 farm to tableaus in Milwaukee. You want to have only one. And so
you're guaranteeing them exclusivity in their market.
So
that's
a big one. So we also get that. They get the exclusive license with it when they sign on with us.
So that's a pretty incredible package. And I can absolutely see how much value is in that combination of like playbook, consulting, ad hoc, things you didn't know you needed, like auctioneer in a pinch. And that, I think that like industry benchmarking, it sounds like you do, like you're in good shape or you're in trouble, or based on our experience, other events like yours should be performing like this. Elaine, that's an incredible asset or set of assets all wrapped up in one package.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot. It's pretty amazing value. Basically, I've always looked at it as, if they can make more money with us than without us, we have a viable business. And so we have to add value. And and many times, it's funny, a lot of nonprofits have young staff, and they have a development professional who's responsible for overall fundraising. And then their more junior staff is going to be responsible for the event. And so they just don't have the life experience. So when you put a junior staff person with our, coaches, our project managers who have all been, they've all come from the nonprofit fundraising world, they can provide that continuity and that coaching that many times, the development director is too busy to provide, and the board, they're not going to do it. And so you've got these young, event kids running, basically trying to pull off, a $500,000 event, and they're 28 years old.
You're touching on something that another interview subject, who's a fundraising executive, a professional consultant, hit on, which is the amount of effort it takes to build the skill, the infrastructure, and the relationship with your community to successfully mount an annual event year over year. So you're helping them build that muscle and probably scale a lot faster than they could independently.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have what we call revenue generating. I think of them like tools. So you go to an event and you might have a raffle and a wall of wine and, a shoe guy auction and a this and a that. There's, a dozen or so. And the first year, you might say, let's do 3 of these and then master those. And then next year we'll add 3 more. And then the next year you add 3 more after that. So we really help them, you're right, build those skills and do that. So it's huge.
It is huge. And you've got this amazing, innovative, like off the shelf and yet fully customized concepts you've rolled out. Why do your events stand out in our industry? And what impact do you think besides some of the things we've touched on, what other impacts do they have for your clients?
They stand out. Well, right now we have 2 flavors, what I call flavors. So we've got a women's wine and fashion event, which is wine, women, and shoes. And then we have an art and food event that's called Farm to Tableau. And they stand out really in their level of fun. Though it's a lot about, making sure the event is fun, making sure that it's strongly branded. It's amazing how little sometimes events aren't really all that well branded. And fun, branding, and profitable. It's funny. When I first started this, I had this question I would ask myself: does this thing I'm about to create for this event, does it do 3 things? Is it fun? Does it raise money? And does it communicate mission? And we put those, and so everything had to pass that. And if it only hit on 2 of them, like, okay, we're going to have a coffee cart at check when you're waiting for valet. And valet might take 15 minutes and people can get cranky while they wait for valet. So let's have, an espresso cart there. Okay. Is it fun? Well, espresso carts are great, but it'd be more fun at a wine, women, and shoes if we had like a cute shoe guy working the espresso cart who was outgoing and could be, kind of working it as he's there. Okay. Can it generate money? Well, let's sponsor that espresso cart. What if that cute shoe guy that's working the espresso cart is your local real estate agent or insurance agent or works for the bank that everybody knows? Now we can put a logo on a shirt. We can put a logo on the cart, I don't know, wherever you brand that thing. Now let's talk about mission. So let's say we've just raised, I'm just making this up, a bunch of money for the Boys and Girls Club. Now let's hand out with that. Do you print something on the napkin? Do you have a little sign that hangs on it that says, we love you, are here, you are fabulous. Your efforts just helped us, provide after school programs for 800 children. Maybe you might put pictures of the kids. So you circle back all 3 of those things and you just make sure it's really almost more like a discipline. Anything, have I done this? Have I touched on this? And I think that is actually what separates our events from a lot of the other ones. They're more fun, they're better branded, and they're effective.
Yeah, that's a great filter to run any decision through. And I imagine too, it can help your clients, staff, and board stay focused.
Yeah.
Because they can go off on any of a number of ideas that might not really, again, drive the mission, the bottom line, and the fun factor home.
Yeah. Because I mean, you can drop a card. I mean, we all gather ideas. All of us go to events a lot. And so we're always gathering ideas when we're at an event. And I had seen that card, the espresso card at checkout, at valet at a party that had, I think it literally had like a 20-minute wait for valet because the parking was so far away. And we didn't care because we were drinking espresso and having a great old time. And I was like, okay, this is going to help us. So I think that's, I mean, you could just put an espresso cart there, but if you put the espresso cart with those, with that filter on it, it brings it to a next level and help people raise more money.
So a big piece of the overall package, and something that you've been doing more customized as the need demands, is coaching and teaching best practices to your clients. And so I'm curious, before you set them straight or before you advise them, what are some of the most common mistakes and misconceptions your clients come to you with?
I think the most common thing that we see is the team is too small. What we'll see is the executive, maybe the development person or the event person acts as the chair of the event. They say, committees are a hassle. We're just going to do this mostly in-house. They'll have a figurehead chair here or there, and but not really build out and engage their committee. And what happens is it's the bottleneck. It's a bottleneck for how much you can get accomplished. And it also narrows the outreach within the community. The broader your team, the bigger your outreach everywhere. So I would say that's probably one of our biggest things that we come across. And another thing is that we hear a lot is, I understand this is common for something called I call a cash call, which is just basically you give money during the auction you're not getting an auction prize or anything. You're not buying a specific lot. You're just giving money, raising your paddle to give money at a level.
Right. Sometimes a paddle raise or a fund a need or a cash call, all of these. Yeah.
So the most common thing we'll hear is, those won't work in our town.
Oh gosh. Yep.
We hear that a lot. Oh yeah, that might work in this town, but our town is different. Our culture, people are going to be turned off by that. And what we will say is, it doesn't hurt. We hear you because we don't want to not hear what they say, but let us try. And you have nothing to lose. We will do the auction for you. We will get up and do that, be your auctioneer, do that cash call. And whatever we make is gravy for you because you thought you could make zero. So even if we only make $4,000, it's still $4,000 more than you had. And inevitably we get up. I think, it goes well. I think the least we brought in for somebody with a small event with, that wasn't quite, they were ready for it, but they hadn't wrapped their heads. The least we've made is like $10K for someone. And a lot of times we'll get up and they'll say, it won't work in our community. And our team will come back with a $30,000 or $40,000 cash call, which for them is just, gravy, money out of the air that wasn't there before.
And not only have you brought in that money, but you've taught the organization and the staff of that organization to be a little more fearless or a little less fearful about direct asks. I think that's it's a real challenge. It's I think we hear that with our clients too. Like, that won't work in our community. These folks are already giving so much. It won't land right in the tone of the program. You name it. It's all just fear. It's just fear of it like falling flat. And you know how to structure it. Do you know how to structure it so it feels energetic and exciting in the moment, not like, this is sad and scary.
Yeah. Uncomfortable. Yeah. I don't like it. And then my whole team, everyone who does project management and interfaces with the client and goes to events is a certified fundraising professional. And one of them, the president of our company, has a master's in fundraising and is now getting her PhD in fundraising. And so they're all, they could all drop back in and be development directors easily. So they get it. They're not just event planners. They're event planners with this whole development strategy. And actually, the nuts and bolts of the event planning is left to a local a local event planner. Like we don't rent the venue. We don't decide the menu. We don't decide the tablecloths. We can weigh in on that stuff, but that's all handled on the local level.
Right. You can say like, you're doing a good job. Keep it going.
Yeah.
Keep going. What do you think are some of the challenges you or the brands you are running have had to overcome?
Oh, well, I mean, the last 2 years as we come out of COVID, that thing that sort of ground all of our business to a halt. I remember, who was it? I remember that someone had said that they'd sat down with event professionals at the time and had looked at COVID remember when we were thinking it'd be a couple of weeks? And then someone said it was going to be 18 to 24 months. And I remember that a group of industry executives had met and said, oh no, this is going to be 18 to 24 months. And I remember thinking, there's no way. How are we going to hold on? I've got 10 employees. I can't just park this on hold. What do we do? And the biggest challenge for that was like, okay, all these nonprofits are counting on this revenue from our event every year. That's critical for their services. So how this is, when virtual showed up. So the biggest challenge was in figuring it out for the first time. Our first virtual event was, about as homespun as it could possibly get. And so then doing them over and over again, looking at other ones, trying to figure out how to make them look more like a variety show and have higher level tech and be scripted and costumed and worth sitting down and watching.
Right, not just boring everyone to death.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that was a big one. And it seems to me like us, you even more so have come out with not just everything it took to get through those times, but then everything you learned is driving future innovation.
Yeah, it is. I mean, now a standard is all auctions are online as well as being live and in person. We load everything up. You start the auction a week in advance so people can get on and bid on their silent auction lots. So the hybrid events are great. And I don't think people want to do purely virtual events anymore. If they do, they might exist in a different form. But yeah, the hybrid has been wonderful. And what we've been able to apply has been really good.
Yeah. Who else is doing this work that impresses you? And yeah, who do you admire out in our industry and in the fundraising
world? It's funny. There's a group here in Napa Valley called Nimbus Arts, and they have an event every year called Nimbash. And I try to go every year because it's such a standard setter. It's such a great event. So I go and take notes, and their decor is, they're an art center and where they teach art classes. So like their signage for their wineries is, they'll do a painting for the winery. But they can do it in their art class. Let's do today in art class, we're going to paint winery signs. And so they might do depending on the theme, that might be Matisse copies or something. They do really fun, interesting things. They have a fashion show that's sort of more like performance art. And that feels sort of like a pagan tribal dance meets a fashion show and performance art. And the bar is really high. This year they had a DJ with a live percussionist, and the DJ was on one side with the live percussionist on the other. So he had multiple, drums and things, and he was very theatrical. So that was really, gorgeous and cool. And I'm looking at it going, okay, how do we replicate that? Can we replicate that in Toledo? How do we do this? And what kind of organization would have the right tools to be able to get this to where this is? So I think they do amazing work. At Napa Valley, I live in the land of fundraising.
Yes. And wine and auctions. And
the Napa Valley wine auction has always been, sort of the Super Bowl of nonprofit events. So that's an excellent one. I watch that a lot. I haven't traveled as much to see a bunch of other people's fundraising events. I need to get out on the road and go to, like, I don't know, Palm Beach in New York and those places. But I have not.
But you've also built a team of people who are distributed now. What do they bring you? Like, do they bring you ideas and inspiration and next level?
They do all the time. I mean, I'm founder and now am really just involved on the financial end, coaching, visioning, that stuff. But they are the day-to-day, people who interface with the clients. They determine what we're going to do. They go to their own events and bring their ideas to the table. They're really driving the bus on what we're doing now. And because they're development directors and have nonprofit backgrounds, they go to quite a bit and are active in their own communities. And so they're always bringing their ideas back. And many times, because they're executing and I'm, in more the founder position, oftentimes I only hear about these after the fact. Like, oh, we tried this at an event and it went really well. And I'm like, right on, you guys.
Yes. You're like, wait, come back. Tell me more. I want to hear about that.
Yeah, you go.
So besides other events, where do you think your team looks for information on best practices and event trends? I mean, I know they have all this fundraising expertise they've built. So maybe some of it's in there.
Some of it's in there. I think they all read Nonprofit Times. They all pay attention to those sorts of things. I think they attend other events in their communities. I think that's where they're gathering a lot of their events, their information.
Very cool. And what in all of this is giving you energy right now?
Right now, it's developing the team and helping the team grow and helping the business grow so that the team can grow. Ashley's now the, director of project management. And so what's that look like? We have to have enough projects to have her be able to be a director. So then how does that work? And then making sure that we keep growing our business. Right now we're at like 60, I think we'll do 64 events this year. And if we continue with what we're doing next year, we'll probably do 80-ish. So that means we'll need another team member. I'd like to continue to grow this so that as the business grows, the staff can grow with the business so that this can always stay challenging and interesting to them. And then it's really about setting the culture so that it's always this empowering, supportive culture of each other and of our clients.
You talked a little bit about using some of the coaching practices you've picked up in EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, which we're both a member of. How do you bring what you've learned in that to your team?
Some reading where I'll share some articles. I'm about to probably share a class I sat in on a couple weeks ago on compensation. I'll share that with our president. A lot of it is just my own coaching, my own shift in mindset, trying to just be the best person I can be so that that helps then create a good atmosphere for the team. Many times if I come from a place of anxiety, that's going to cause them to be uncomfortable. So how do I be a confident and supportive leader in a way that helps them feel good and confident and supportive of their folks, the people that they're working with.
Nice. And then the culture piece, do you guys have core values?
We do have core values, and next week we have a staff retreat that's a week long. We're going to be in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, Monday through Friday.
Fun. Oh, that is fantastic.
Yeah, we've rented 2 Airbnbs, 2 big houses, and we're going to work an event. We've got a event next week in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho on, I think it's Thursday. So the whole team is going to work that event together, which hasn't happened. We haven't all been together in probably 3 years. So because first, so all of us together is going to be huge. And then being able to work towards a common, common goal. It's like getting together and throwing, cooking together. It's just really fun to get to do that.
Yes. Oh, that's so great. Oh, I envy you, your staff retreat. Our like post-COVID, but our long tail of COVID team looks like every time we go to set a calendar date for that retreat, we have to move it because a new project comes in. So really trying in 2023 to like set a space that we really hold sacred for that. Because the value of getting everybody together and working on some common needs for the treating yourself like your best client.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Hard to do.
And the team and just those positive interactions, getting to know each other. Everyone, it's an all-female team, and with the two of it, one woman, Alyssa, is young and not married and doesn't have kids, and everyone else except for me is a mom. And so so it's interesting to see because some of them have a little bit older kids and most of them have younger children. So not only I've noticed are they colleagues in work, but they're colleagues in like parenthood. They'll talk to each other about, oh my gosh, my daughter just had an allergic reaction. What do I do? That just came up recently. So
I think it's amazing that says something already about the culture whether it's organic or cultivated, that is happening in your organization, that folks can bring themselves to work. Because you hear about workplaces where that is just not like, don't talk about yourself, don't talk about your family. Like, it's like, don't acknowledge having a life that isn't here and focused on our bottom line. That's beautiful.
Yeah. No, it's the business is a part of their lives. They are whole people. And that has really, Heather, our president, has just done a really good job of that. And I think too, the fact that we're all working in this modern world where there's less delineation between work and personal life, you just have to make room for all of it. And it's not driven with time, it's driven with results and performance. And, and I've had to get used to where people work in sprints. That happens a lot. It's not about the slow, steady marathon. It is a lot of sprints.
Yeah, that's a really good. I'm curious if you have a sense of like what your team would say are there like the most meaningful part of this work for them, or the biggest things they get out of the work they do.
Well, every Monday we have a team call where we talk about the events over the week, that were that week before, and all the time it is they love to see their team, their teams that they're coaching and working with. They love to see them shine and thrive. So I think it's the same joy you get out of having kids. I think there's an agony and an ecstasy. There's an agony when maybe you have a chair in some town who's a 60-year-old grande dame of some town, and she's talking to our team and is like, oh, honey, this is how we do it in our town. And we're very open to coaching. And maybe they break through a little bit, and she comes to the event and goes, oh my gosh, these ideas are good, or we're building trust and we're building confidence. They get up on stage and raise some money in the cash call. It's huge. They all, and then they all really resonate with the messages of the missions of these charities. I mean, when you're helping someone with, kids with disabilities, or, an animal shelter, or whoever it is that we're working with, the money's really meaningful. And we have learned a lot about these charities and their missions. And it's pretty, it's powerful. These gals, I would say they, brings tears to their eyes. I would say 9 times out of 10.
Oh my gosh. I have that turn into a sap every time moment when like the video kicks off and the music swells and it hits me right in the gut. And then all of a sudden I'm like, why am I crying? I know this organization so well. I've already watched this video 10 times, but now it's on a really high quality speaker in the room, and you just get swept away with everyone else.
Yeah, you do. That's the point. Yeah.
Yes, that's the point. That's the really like beautiful, amazing work you've been doing.
It is.
That's awesome. Is there anything else I didn't ask you about you or Studio 440 or Farm to Tableau that you really want to share?
Let me think. I can't think of anything that you didn't ask me off the top of my head. No.
Well, all right. Well, we've been talking to Elaine Honig, the founder and CEO of Studio 440 and an event fundraising expert and community activist. Elaine, how do people find all your amazing offerings?
They go to our website at studio, the number 4, and the word 40.com. So studio440.com, that'll take you to, if you want information on Wine, Women, and Choose, you can click into that website, or Farm to Tableau, it'll take you to that website, or our Eventful offerings, which are more our customized and consulting offerings that we do.
All the flavors.
Yeah, if you have a gala or a fundraising event that you're doing that you just feel like you could get a little bit more out of, think of us like personal trainers. You've got a workout routine, but it's kind of okay, but you can use someone to help you take it to that next level. We can do that with any event you're throwing, or help you come think up a whole new event. So that's where you find us.
I love that. And you have this amazing team that is moved by the missions, and they're standing by to support all your awesome projects. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Paige. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Kennedy Events Podcast. Come back next time and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.